Hi everybody, you're listening to the Khandaan Podcast by the You Podcast team, a bi-weekly podcast revisiting the movies of Amir Khan, Salman Khan and Shahrukh Khan.
Every show we pick a random year from 3 decades of collectively 300 films the Khans have done and let our listeners vote which movie we should talk about. So it's entirely up to you.
Pick a team, make a vote, take us down nostalgia lane, punish us, or make us reassess a movie we dismissed.
We love the Khans, most of us, sometimes. And we would love for you all to be part of our Khandaan, because when it comes to the Khans in Bollywood, nothing else really matters.
Yeah, so what did, maybe we should do actor by actor. So Kajol didn't work for you guys. For me, she really worked actually. What did you think of Shahrukh in this movie? Because I was also reading, again in those deleted scenes, Karan Johar mentioned that Shahrukh was going through a very tough time at that moment. And I don't know if it was health-wise or personal-wise or what was going on, but he had a lot of bad skin. I'd never seen him such pimply and I don't know if you guys noticed it.
Yeah.
I don't know, maybe he was having health problems or something like that. And does anybody know a bit more about that or not? No.
I think it was health problems.
Right. Because he's had lots of surgeries and all that kind of stuff too then, right?
And this was also when Devdas was came out or was filming, right?
No idea.
Because I remember it went on for a few years actually, and I remember him saying if he could survive Devdas, he could survive anything because it was really bad.
Wow.
So I think he was seriously depressed at the end of it. He
just working with SLB depressed him.
Apparently, he and Aishwarya were sitting in a tree at the end of the shoot because they were shooting that Kahe Chhed, Kahe Chhed song, and apparently Sanjay Leela Bhansali came up to him and was just Shahrukh, tumhe saath khoon maaf because you've put up with so much shit in this movie. And I'm wow, even Sanjay Leela Bhansali knows he's an ass. I think he was going to. What I also find weird is that Shah Rukh and Kajol only get half a movie, because in the second half they're almost side characters, and Hrithik and Pooh are not existent in the first. So you get that. Maybe that's the reason why the movie is 3.5 hours long, because you basically have each of their movies just gelled together. Which is kind of weird because I wanted to see more Shahrukh when I was watching this. I really liked Shahrukh with Jaya B.
Yeah.
Their dynamic is really good. I believe them as mother and son. There's a sense of genuine affection in there. Although Jaya B is a good actress, so maybe she needs Shah Rukh.
No, when I know that Jaya Bhadri is a very good actress, because she has, at the start of the movie, you have that, she has these flashback black and white moments with all these random kids that are supposed to be Shah Rukh as a kid. Yeah. And Jaya Bachchan doesn't give shit about kids, but it really feels like she loves these kids. So she's a great actress.
I think the first time I saw it, I think she was the character that I overlooked the most. Because, she's just weepy mother, and at that age, you don't really care about weepy mothers. But this time around, I thought she was phenomenal. She was the one person who made me feel that silent pain that her husband has caused. She's not going to say anything. A bit like Dimple in Patiala as well. But when she speaks up, that's when he's okay, I better listen to her. I think up until that point, he's pretty much done whatever the hell he's wanted. And she's kind of supported him. But she was very, very understated and very good. So
I think when you get to see the Kaidiya Bas Kaidiya scenes, right? And it makes me wonder if the Bachchan household dynamic in real life is like that. would Amitabh Bachchan ever dare to say that to Jaya Bachchan? And he was Bachchan is almost breathing very, very slowly when he's saying that, because ghar jana hai, and Jaya would be
घर पे मार पड़ेगी स्टूल पे खड़े होके.
But probably because, every time I look at their family shots, their body language is so away from each other that, Amitabh's usually with the kids or with like Aishwarya, which not so much anymore, but yeah. And she's standing on one side, which is really weird. So, yeah, probably that's what their household might be.
I think she's just had like a lifetime of shit and she's just had enough.
Yeah. That's also true.
But that scene where like she and Shahrukh meet each other again.
Mm-hmm.
So that entire like last 1 hour, like I was telling Sujoy, like the entire last 1 hour is one giant weep fest. It's just like one like valley after another after another.
I have to say, I cried in that.
I did.
Yeah.
I always do. There's no way I can watch that scene without crying. Like
Yeah,
that
same.
gets to me. And honestly, like I have a very close relationship with my mom. It's very like it mirrors a lot of what's going on between Jaya and Shahrukh. Like my mom knows when I step into the house. Like without hearing, without knowing, she knows. Like so that gets to me. Like even the first time when he comes with a helicopter and she's doing the aarti and then he doesn't show up and then he shows up and then he does the Shahrukh finger wag. It works for me, man. It works for me. But I wanted to get back to the start of the movie because it starts with Amitabh and Jaya talking to us, the audience. And they're talking about, how parents feel and how they love or how they don't love their kids. And I was like, wow, this is such a movie device of that era. They did that in Dil To Pagal Hai. They did that in, like, I'm feeling like Hum Tum, that kind of thing. Like Pyar Kya Hota Hai, like a little bit of Hum Aapke Hain Kaun too, where they're kind of facing the camera and singing in black and white. It was just funny that it was something of that era, and now it feels very, very outdated. That was Dil To Pagal Hai with Ek Duje Ke Vaste, where they did that too. Yeah.
Well, Karan still did that with Breaking the Fourth Wall and Student of the Year as well.
Yeah. It's interesting, but there's a lot of because this was we spoke about Akshay having a bad time, but Amitabh had just come out of that bad phase after his return to cinema, and this was basically his second movie where it actually worked again. The first one being Mohabbatein, and this was just after Mohabbatein, and Amitabh was very much into that strict patriarch of the family kind of role. So yeah, it was kind of shocking to see his weave though, his hair piece, what he has. It's like very like gel to it. But you guys, I mean, you know how much I love Amitabh, man. That voice of his and stuff like that. But I know you guys have a lot more issues with him. But let's talk a bit about this idea of, is Amitabh a dick? Not in real life, in the movie.
I say yes in every case.
Because I think Beth had a good comment about that, right, Amrita? What did she say?
Somebody said that they hate Amitabh so much that they can't watch this movie or enjoy it.
So Beth said, genuine question, why do people like, let alone love this patriarchal piece of trash with non-stellar acting from people who can do so much better? This is Beth. Top friend Beth.
So there's another one says, my dislike of AB Senior prevents me from enjoying this as much as I could otherwise. But was this the first Kejo Hindi movie where they showed a married couple still in love with a woman expressing desire? I remember being very impressed by that when I first saw it. Also, do you think Kejo goes for this ultra-rich people interior decoration aesthetic in his own house?
You have to say Aloknath is an asshole, but he raised some very sex-positive women in this movie. Like both Pooh and Kajol are up for it, for sure. Which is cool.
Yeah.
I do think he is like I find like that climax where he's just like, oh, I just said it once and then you just went away, like why didn't you give me another chance? I was like, don't rewrite history. Like you had 10 freaking years to like check up on your kid and like see what was up. And also they apparently just sent away their little kid for like 10 years and like never had him home. Like that's a seriously dick move too. And like just expected him to be like, oh yeah, I used to have a brother and now he's just disappeared and we just don't talk about it. Like these are not like normal actions.
No, but I think he said, Rohan at some point said that, Bhaiya had told me never to ask where he's going.
Yeah.
So he kind of knew Bhaiya wasn't home, which might have...
They do have that scene, right? But before Shahrukh goes away, they have
on the bench.
He sits him down and he says, cricket team mein selection ho jana, the weight lose kar lena and all of that.
So
which
much fat shaming.
So it's like literally like Rahul is like making life basically easier for his horrible dad. But, like, I'm just like, what the hell, man? Like, you can't just come at the end of the movie and be like, oh yeah, like I never meant it. When he clearly did mean it. Like, and he was just like, you're not my son. Like, you prove that you're not my son.
You're not my blood. That's what he says. I'm like, fuck you, dude.
But the whole...
I think... I think that's how he's raised as well. Though. He idolizes his father so much. I think he wanted the same sort of worship that wanted the same sort of loyalty and worship from his own son. And he sort of felt betrayed in a sense. That you can see how much he idolizes that imaginary portrait of Dadaji Raichand's in his office room, and he wanted the same sort of reciprocation from his eldest son, and he didn't get it, and so he's like, "You're not my blood."
I think I also read somewhere that the character is based on Karan Johar's dad to a certain degree.
Really?
No.
I read this in IMDb trivia or something like that.
I mean, the name is Yash. So Karan Johar's dad's name is Yash Johar, and that's about it.
Literally everybody that's ever spoken about Yash Johar has said something entirely different about him.
That's what I was going to follow up with, because that part I don't understand. That's you only hear lovable things about the dad, so I don't understand this idea that how could he be based on this character. But I want to kind of also say, like, I don't know, I feel like clearly, okay, he's in the wrong. Like Amitabh is in the wrong, but he is a loving like if Alok Nath had not died, right?
Yeah.
They would have all been happily go lucky, like it would have been like everything would have worked out. Shahrukh would have, dumped Kajol, and they only had Suraj Hua Maddam at that time. And the family maybe wouldn't have even broken apart. I don't know, because he was loving with Shahrukh, right? And he was even loving with young Hrithik to a certain degree. He was terrible with Jaya Bachchan.
Like he kept kissing Rani on the forehead, which was really creepy.
Yeah, that was really creepy. That was really creepy.
Also doing I thought it was creepy then. I think it's creepy now. Like during the birthday celebration things where like Rani and like Amitabh are having this major scene and she's like Marilyn Monroeing like happy birthday to him and stuff. And I'm just like, this is super duper awkward.
Yeah. But these are some of these Karan Johar kinks that are in the movie that I sometimes don't understand. Like he doesn't make he sexualizes Amitabh. It's not sexy Amitabh, it's sexual Amitabh. And it's like a Karan Johar kink, and I don't understand where it comes from.
But no, I have seen a lot of very, very strong, egoistic, patriarchal men in my family. So even though I might not agree with it or any of that, I kind of get it. I don't know if that makes any sense. And yeah, I don't think it's great for a movie to show that, because that kind of reinforces all the crap stuff that women have had to grow up with. But it does exist to a huge extent, and that is what needs to be changed and realized, I suppose, that these things happen and they're not okay.
Yeah.
Except this movie doesn't actually say that, what he did was wrong. He like literally just whitewashes the whole thing. And he's just like, oh, that never happened. You just took like one thing out of context and then like took off. Which is what like really makes me mad.
But what made me mad is also the whole critic the whole Hrithik angle, right? What is his strategy exactly? Like, it feels like all of the blame is on Shahrukh. Like, Shahrukh is the one that needs to be reminded how awesome this family is, that he broke away from. He, like, the douchiest part of Hrithik was when he's like, Abhi Sargi nahi aaya abhi tak. Like, Kajol, like, what Sargi? Like, Sargi na? Sargi. Like, talk to my mom about Sargi. Like, what is this? Like, why don't you go talk to your dad instead, na? Like, have you not sent the Sargi? Like, I do.
More than the Sargi scene, it's that scene where, like, they come back with that, the Bhog ka Prasad for their father. And they're like, oh, Tumhara baap mar gaya? Oh, so sad. You must be missing very much, no? Yeah. Like, it's so nice to have a father. So sad that you don't have a father. And I'm just like, I would just slap him across the face if he like walked into my house and like behaved like that when like people are clearly sad about it,
Like, Hrithik was the worst for me. And I don't know if it is become because I'm rewatching this movie now. And his whole idea of, like, okay, like, if we even forget about, he sent him off to boarding school for 10 days. Shahrukh even doesn't recognize his own brother. All of this, we can put that up to cinematic liberty, But what was his plan? That I do not understand. Like, what was he trying to accomplish by making Kajol and Shahrukh feel terrible about things? Like, I don't, like, because even when he leaves, right, Shahrukh, he asks his mom, I'm not in the wrong, am I? And his mom said, no, you are not. So why does then the second half of the movie just spend making Shahrukh feel bad about the decision he made? Like, that I don't understand. Does anybody?
I mean, the tagline is, it's all about loving your parents. So the bachches should take the initiative. That's what it's all about. The parents don't need to, bend in a metaphorical way.
I guess, but they also, he says clearly, like, they are our parents, but even they don't have the right to hurt us like this, you know? So there's like a lot of back and forth, and I don't know if this is just Karan Johar's age at that time, and, his dad died, like, I think a couple of years after that, so he probably was like in a, maybe he was sick, or he was, he was not in that stage where he could talk to him or see him as a person. But it does seem like a very a young filmmaker kind of way of approaching this, where, you are putting your parents on a pedestal, and you can't, it doesn't seem that he could even communicate with them. Like, I don't feel anybody was communicating in that house. Like, I did really like the contrast between before Shahrukh left the house, how it was filled with light and people and happiness. And when Hrithik comes back from college, they're just like staring at their they're praying, right? They're not staring at the photo. They're praying, and that's it. There's just three of them, and nobody's really talking anymore. And the only thing that's happening is Amitabh has learned to slightly bend his neck to adjust his tie. Tilak. Yeah.
Well, like, even in that Bole Churiya scene, right, when Rahul and Rohan, they hug, and Mama Raichan gets the telekinesis of the Raichans coming together, and she runs like Paro does in Devdas.
Yeah, the SLB sari run, right?
and the whole house is like a haunted house. Everything is grey, and I think like all the furniture was covered or something.
Yeah.
It felt like that.
Yeah. No, that I really kind of like, that kind of juxtaposition of how it was like the parents are suffering because of the choices they made, although they don't admit that they made choices. At least Amitabh doesn't.
Like, you can see how Karan is portraying how Yash Raichan has sort of sobered down or melted a bit when Rohan goes away and he's like wiping one tear off his right eye or something like that. whereas before he was like this stone cold.
Yeah. Although, again, so sorry, I can keep getting back to this, but was he though? Because I think he's genuinely hurt and disappointed when Shahrukh says, I'm going to, cause as Amrita says, Kajol is terrible. She's terrible. You can understand trepidation of Amitabh to have her in the house as a bahu, right?
But she's already broken 2 gamlas.
Yeah, already she's broken 2 gamlas, true.
I think he just didn't want, when Nandini says that times have changed. And he's like, no, times haven't changed. So Kajol or no Kajol, he just would have never agreed to the fact that his son found someone he wanted to marry.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I agree with that. But there's that moment, he's crying, right? When Shahrukh says, he's so disappointed, he starts crying. As a son, watching your dad cry, that is a hard pill to swallow. That doesn't happen, and then when he just puts his head on his lap and then, he puts his, his head on his head, his hand on his head, it's okay, I forgive you at that moment. It's a tough dynamic to be in that situation because you love your parents, but you damn love your dad, man. It's a hard situation to be in,
But it also is kind of underlined that they made Yash Raichan consciously reminded Rahul of the fact that he's adopted, and how full of gratitude he should be that he is being raised in this family and that he did not show his loyalty. That's a very big dick move.
See, Raja Babu would him, basically.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah, I get it. I'm just kind of pushing back on this idea that, Raichand is a dick, I'm just kind of pushing back. I do agree with it to a certain degree, but I do feel like it's a tough situation to be in. For Shahrukh, it's a tough situation to be in,
if you imagine, if it's the Ambani's son, just for example, and if he's marrying the maid's friend's daughter.
From Chandni Chowk.
Yeah. But, I suspect they would also be upset about it.
Yeah.
If it's whatever said and done, class does play a huge deal in India.
And even in Made in Heaven, we see this. Even if they do get married, and she's not even a halwai from Chandni Chowk, she was actually an educated woman, there's still so much that, societal pressure. So even if they do get married, it's going to be a terrible life for Kajol in that household.
Nobody's saying this doesn't happen in real life, but when it happens in real life, those people are still dicks in real life.
Yeah.
So he's still a dick.
He's still a dick.
Whether it happens in real life or in fiction, a dick is a dick.
True.
A dick is a dick indeed. Yeah, I don't think I can add anything there than that dick is a dick. That's true. I think I like the soundtrack of Kuch Kuch Hota Hai better than Kabhi Khushi Kabhie Gham.
Yes.
Way more.
Yes. Although Suraj Hua Madham is still fantastic. As a video, it is fantastic.
It's Terior before Terior, and it's hella lot sexier than Terior.
Oh, yeah.
It's hella sexy, that song, man.
So many Shahrukh nipples in this song.
Yeah.
I am not complaining.
Ruchi, you must know this is a very nipple-centric show. If there's nipples to be talked about, we shall be talking about nipples.
Male nipples, rather.
It works for me because I listen to and I watched a lot of K-pop, and that's what my boys are doing.
Shahrukh got there before all the K-pop boys, though.
I know. It's. This movie actually, you're growing up and you're like, oh my God, Shahrukh, and then you kind of forget about it. But this was a good reminder as to why he is a big deal, and he is. He will swoon and he will do the right things, and it's cheesy and whatever, but it's him and no one does it better than him.
he can just get away with things that nobody else can get away with. Like when he's jogging with Rani, right? And you know my feelings about Rani and Shahrukh together, right? They banging for sure. But there's this moment where they're like teasing and they're running, and he like what would a boy do to a girl? And he pulls her bra strap down, like just a little. But it's like, imagine Sanjay Dutt doing this, you know? It would be so up, right?
Yeah.
It's like, you would call the cops, right? Please, somebody save Rani. Or like even how horrible he is with the kid, with his little brother. Like even at the party with everybody, he fat shames him. It's terrible, but it's because it's Shahrukh. We kind of like, okay, it's fine, you know.
Yeah.
And he also does that Shahrukh thing where he's like, somebody's talking, like a woman is talking, and then he'll grab her hand. He's like, shut up, and then he'll start like swooning and talking to her like betiyon ko churi pehna raha hu, you know, that scene is happening, and he's like, lagi na. It's like, mere bhi lagi. Like, what is this happening? Why are you putting like hurtful churiyas on Kajol? Like, but it's because it's Shahrukh. We'll just take it because he looks hella hot when his hair is wet.
And in Sherwanis and in he's perfect. Like even in Bole Churiya, when he starts dancing, I remember the first time at the cinema, like, okay, Hrithik, dance, yeah, great. But then when it's Shahrukh starts, you're just like, oh my God, this is what I have been missing. I'm gushing. I'm clearly gushing. You can hear it from my voice.
Even
I think, like, you know, like every time, because like over the past few years, people have discovered how trash these early movies are, right? In terms of like gender dynamics and all those kind of things. And so it keeps coming up. And I always think, you know, like the reason why it took so long for people to realize the problems was because of Shahrukh. Because
he masks it so expertly.
I know. Like that scene in DDLJ, like where, you know, they meet for the first time and he's like, you know, like picking up her bra and like dangling it in front of her face and everything. When I remember seeing that scene in the theater, and I remember everybody was just like, so naughty. Like, all of us were just like so endearing because it was Shahrukh. And like now we're just like, oh my God, what the hell? So there's a lot of, you're right, like there is a lot that we forgive Shahrukh that we would not forgive other people.
Yeah.
Definitely not Sanjay Dutt.
Because, you know, like when Shahrukh pulls the bra, he doesn't go further than the clavicle. Sanjay Dutt would be going to the elbow with it.
So, what are your favorite songs on this soundtrack?
Bole Churiya.
I love Deewana Hai Dekho. It is
that's my favorite as well. Deewana Hai Dekho.
Brilliant.
Which one is Deewana Hai Dekho?
The Hrithik goes to college.
When Hrithik is Kukkad Kamalda.
Yeah, pretty much.
I love that sequence so much where, like, you know, there's like all this like dancing and everything, and then it like zeroes in on Hrithik, and who like very coolly says Chandu ki chamchi, chachi ki whatever, and you are just like, huh? And then she's just like, Laddu.
Who's Laddu?
Iconic.
The problem with why I don't like that song is when this movie was coming out, there was this interview where Ruby Wax went to the set of... Did anybody watch this?
Oh my God, Ruby. I remember Ruby. I don't know what interview you're talking about.
Yeah, so she went on the set of Kabhi Khushi Kabhie Gham, and she was following Hrithik. And Ruby Wax on one side and Hrithik on the other side, who's like super earnest Hrithik, and Ruby Wax who's like the snarkiest woman I've ever seen on screen. So that dynamic was really funny. So, but then there's this shot where he comes out and he's wearing this, because he's constantly wearing these muscle shirts, right?
Yeah.
Sleeveless muscle, because his biceps used to be a big thing, which I don't understand why now when I look at it back. But anyway, so he comes out with this blue-white shirt, and Ruby just says, Hrithik, it looks kind of girly. And Hrithik gets so self-conscious that he actually changes the shirt, and then he wears this grey one later on in the movie. So you don't even see that shirt in the movie, because Ruby Wax is then talking to Nikhil Nikhil, what's his name? Nikhil Diva.
Chinna.
No,
Chinnappa.
Nikhil Advani. Sorry, she's talking to Nikhil Advani, and Nikhil Advani is saying to Ruby, he's like, yeah, but you're the paying audience, so whatever you say goes. So Hrithik goes back into the trailer and asks for a different shirt. So that's why that song Kukkar the Kamalda Part 1 doesn't work for me that much.
Oh.
Yeah, but otherwise I feel the songs are quite weak compared to the Kuch Kuch Hota Hai songs. Because the Kabhi Khushi Kabhie Gham is kind of like a theme that plays throughout the movie, but there's no proper song, right? Like there's the one at the Aarti at the first, and that's it. And then
it's just overkill. Like Lata has a sad version, Sonu Nigam has a sad version. It just plays all along, and I'm like, "King, kill me already."
and then Keh Do Na is another big one, I guess, right?
Yeah, You Are My Sonia.
Yeah.
I never liked that from the start.
I never liked that one. And rewatching it, what are they wearing? Like, oh my God. Like Kareena has like they're both wearing leather pants, and then her leather pants are cut until the knees in the front, but in the back, they're like still there. It's like the weirdest clothes ever. I actually was keeping a list of the worst clothes in the movie. And that was high up there. But then there's also Shahrukh is wearing a Firozi suit with a high neck when he meets Kajol for the first time. There's a lot of Firozi things going on.
You know, when she's putting his suit or tie on, and she's like, "Kitne handsome lag rahe ho." It's like literally a pink suit.
It's salmon. It's all salmon. It's salmon shirt, salmon tie, salmon suit. Salmon buttons on the shirt, salmon buttons. It's crazy.
I don't know. I tell me if I'm wrong, but this was before the age of personalized fashion directors for each star. Like before, Manish Malhotra's. I mean, they were there, but this was all the Sheetals, all the big stores were dressing them up. I don't know if.
This looks very Manish though. This looks.
This is all Manish and Rocky S and all that.
And this is Manish and Karan Johar, basically. That's all. This entire aesthetic. Basically, Bollywood aesthetic today is basically Karan Johar's aesthetic. Yeah. That's what it is.
Yeah. Even Ranveer was saying on the promos of Gully Boy that he sends a picture to Karan Johar to approve what he's wearing.
Clearly.
Yeah, that's why he's wearing ostrich jackets and all the chutiapa that he wears.
Oh, I saw this episode of Ranveer and Akshay on Coffee with Karan, and Karan was interrogating about his fashion choices to Ranveer, and basically Ranveer says that Karan buys all these outlandish clothes, and because he cannot pull it off, he gives it to Ranveer Singh.
Yeah. They also wear the same glasses now, apparently. Those big squarey glasses that they both wear.
Yeah.
The other song I really hated is Shava Shava. I never liked that song, and I hated it watching it again. And I really felt Jaya Bahadri when she goes to Amitabh and says, "Ab bahut ho gaya." I was like, "Yeah, Jaya." Waqi mein bahut ho gaya.
I feel
Yeah.
And how cringeworthy was that Atika Khandala bit after that?
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
I think they tried to emulate what in DDLJ what after Mehndi Laga Ke Rakhna they do the Meri Zore Jabi.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
But that song is the only song that still works for old people.
Yeah, not Atika Khandala.
No. And I think on Prime they had this goofs. So this was obviously the song was released much after the actual timeline of the film, which is supposed to be 91.
Yes.
So the song didn't even exist at that point.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, there were a few of these things technology that didn't exist and all that kind of thing too. And geography-wise, there's also a lot of issues, obviously. Yeah, but
I love that Ruchi is actually timed it. She's well, it must have been 1991.
Atika Khandala Gulam wasn't out there.
That was on Prime. Every time I paused it, which was a lot, these things would pop up.
I don't think even Karan Johar thought that much about his movie.
Clearly.
Clearly.
Okay, Ruchi and Amrita, Your thoughts on Pooh?
Oh God. Okay.
How come have we not talked about Pooh yet? We're like 1 hour.
I mean, I think for me, she's the mascot for this movie. Like, even after all these years, Kabhi Khushi Kabhie Gham is relevant just because of Kareena Kapoor and Pooh.
You know what? I am not a huge Kareena fan, and I think again, like I didn't really care for her before, but she is someone that still holds up to this day. And I laughed a lot. She made me laugh a lot. She just knew she was going for ridiculous, and she went for it with so much like glamour, which was great.
Is she going for ridiculous, or is it an autobiography?
No.
Is it a documentary about Kareena Kapoor? Because Karan and her are like, best buddies, right? He knows her. Like, I feel there's probably a lot of reality to what she is. Although sometimes she veers into Archana Puran Singh territory.
Yeah, there are glimpses of Mrs. Braganza.
Yeah. Yeah, go ahead.
No, I think, yeah, Pooh is, some bits of her are really funny. Like even when, she's choosing a guy for prom and stuff. It's like, nobody does that. If you're really smart, if you're really whatever you are, you're not going to do that. But she just goes for the extra. Like, it's literally, she's the definition of extra AF, which,
Isn't Pooh also
invented.
Isn't Pooh also like a gay icon?
Yes.
She is, right? Yeah. Because like her intro scene, like there's like at least 7 shots of her just shaking her ass in front of the camera bent over. Like I was like, what are they doing? Like what's going on? And apparently they're playing It's Raining Men in the background, and they got sued for using it without they didn't buy the rights or something like that.
Yes. That's like a theme song throughout the film.
Yeah, they weren't allowed to apparently use that. She's I thought she was great in it. I really liked Pooh. But I do feel it's like the most babe. And the funny part is this was her first hit, because she'd been making, I think she was only like 3 or 4 movies in, but all of them had been flopped. But the confidence Bebo has in herself, it's insane. Like, because like we were talking about Akshay, like Bebo also had like 20 flops in a row, but she just always sees herself as a star, and she's always seen herself as a star. And it's commendable, man, having that level of confidence. Obviously, coming from the Kapoor background helps, but still, man, like wow. Like charisma would have been shaken, Bebo was never shaken. Bebo was Bebo always. What I also really found funny was Hrithik's intro scene when he comes to London, because London apparently is very Indian. Like people are doing Bharatnatyam on Leicester Square. Like there's Tiranga Shalwar Kameez on the Trafalgar Square. Like then immediately Kajol is singing Sare Jahan Se Acha in the morning. It's quite a look, man. Like it's a weird one. I think Amrita, you were talking about how weird it becomes when Karan Johar deals with nationalism in his movies, and I think the recital scene is a big thing for that too, right?
Not just the recital scene, but like the opening shot of London is set to Vande Mataram, which is like, I'm sorry, it's like London, our motherland. Like, when did that happen? Like, it's like, oh, Vande Mataram, and then it's just like, the Tower Bridge or whatever, and I'm just like, excuse me? Like, when did
Almeida hangover.
Almeida is basically Kajol. So I was just, and also like everybody in Kajol's films wants to go to London for some weird reason. Like in my generation, everybody was going to America. Like people might go to London, obviously, but like it was like definitely like I feel like the majority of people, when they were like, oh, I'm gonna go abroad, they were like talking about America. So I'm just like, where did this London thing come from? But like Kajol feels very strongly about London. He's like, yes, our motherland, we must go there.
But also like these old school Delhi families and Bombay families, they all have homes in London. They like,
that's true.
So yeah.
Is that colonial hangover that, Manish was maybe also saying, there's these bonds and these old schools and they want to be part of, Eton and Oxbridge and all that kind of thing. It has more class.
Parampara, parampara.
Yeah. But I wonder about Kajol's nationalism. Does he really feel that, or is he making fun of it? And I can't really figure it out, right?
I think it's more of a filmy trope. That comes from being a producer's son. You see that in Kuch Kuch Hota Hai, and he doubles down on this with all the parampara shit that is being preached here, and also the nationalistic angle that is preached via the vehicle of Kajol in this movie. You see that when anybody mentions Bharat to her, you have Mere Desh Ki Dharti playing in the background, and she's like very dreamy-eyed, Mera Bharat and all of that.
Right.
It's kind of that, how Amrish Puri feels when the first letter from Punjab comes in DDLJ. It's kind of an extension of that character into how Kajol is in this movie. And it's a filmy trope to sort of appeal to the B-towns, I suppose, who are, I guess, who think that, see how these people have gone abroad but haven't forgotten about the nation. And, they're going to show us how being Indian is. But yeah, I guess it's more to do with the it's a filmy trick.
Yeah. Is that 4-quadrant approach you were talking about earlier, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. What I also really liked is how, when they moved to London, how paternal Shahrukh is to Kareena to a certain degree.
Yeah.
I really like that dynamic, how protective of her he was. And even when they're begging him to go to the house, Hrithik first begs and he folds his hand, but then when Pooh comes, that's where he agrees to it, he just kind of puts his hand on her head and, he says, don't do it. And he's he really tries to protect her because also the kind of clothes she's wearing, whatever she's doing, it never felt creepy and stuff like that. And I just felt it's weird that how things shift later on, that he really looks like her older brother. And then when we're down the line in Ravan, they're married, they're playing opposite each other, this idea of men don't age, but women do age. It just made me think of it that he really, Shahrukh probably is like that, he probably is like a big brother to a lot of people. And it just kind of shined through in that relationship that wasn't maybe explored as much in this movie, but I really thought that was quite sweet.
Yeah, it's not necessarily underlined, but it's there. You can see that how Rahul is protective of Pooja.
Yeah.
He brought her to his own world and raised her as family.
Yeah.
From a really young, tender age. So you can see that. Yeah.
Yeah. Because what worked for me for we were talking about Kajol in the first half being chill and the second half kind of being comedy auntie. But the moment she does have to shine with emotions, I think she does such a good job. When the scene where she realizes who Hrithik is and she doesn't say anything. She doesn't say a word. Or the scene where she sees Amitabh,
Amitabh and tries to touch her feet.
We talk about, the Jaya Bahadri Kajol scene, and I feel Shahrukh does a very heightened crying, everything is shaking, his eyebrows are shaking, the tear is shaking, the hands are shaking. But the way Kajol does it is so simple, and because she touches his feet and then Hrithik stops her and then he turns around Kajol so Amitabh can realize who the lady was. But then look at Pooh on the other side. She becomes the old Pooh from Chandni Chowk, the little girl slumped over in front of this towering man. And it just made me so sad that, these women, these girls lost their father, Pooh, how old is she when she loses her dad, And Kajol comes with all of this hope to get a new father-in-law, get these blessings. And it's unfortunate that in the second half that part isn't explored as much because Pooh hasn't had a dad, She's had Shahrukh kind of being a thing, like a substitute, but she doesn't even get a hug from Amitabh at the end. It's, that really got to me, those things.
Oh,
Yeah.
I do think that Hrithik is by far the most overacting asshole in this movie. Like even in Bole Churia, right? When he's like hallucinating and seeing, oh, my dad is hugging Rahul and everybody's together, and he's like, the scene is the camera revolves around him and he's emoting his face off and he's crying. Oh my God, the overacting.
Yeah. Hrithik is the weakest part for me. And again, I don't know if it's because I'm rewatching it now with the context of Hrithik now than then, but I don't like his dancing. I don't like his dressing. Like, it's all this Shamik Davar, whatever his name is, kind of like...
Shamak Davar.
Yeah, long, loosey-goosey, limping limbs everywhere. It didn't... Like, it's funny because we think of Hrithik being such a good dancer, but after his intro song, we had to wait until Lakshay to get, like, decent choreography out of him. You know?
Yeah.
Like, even in Kehdona, I think he's doing some moves that he'd already done in Ek Pal Ka Jeena, that side step where he's, like, pushing his bicep back and forth, that kind of thing. And he really lost his way. He really lost his way, and he kind of had found it back with Koi Mil Gaya after a while. But after the debut, like, Hrithik was kind of just lost. It's a weird career that guy has had, and definitely didn't live up to the potential, I think. Any other random thoughts that you had on Kabhi Khushi Kabhie Gham?
Farida Jalal.
Yes.
Yeah, I love
Mera
her.
Baba.
She made me cry.
That got me. One scene. Oh, Mera Baba. Yeah.
When he's trying to tie his shoelaces.
Yeah.
I tweeted that as Roma 2018.
That was my favorite tweet about the entire thing.
Because it kind of is. It's her life as well, right? She's got dissociated from everybody else, and she's gone to live her life with the younger Raichans. And the kind of association she had with the younger Rohan, feeding him laddu all this while.
Yeah, it's just lovely. And like, her daughters got married. She's kind of like, Jaya's told her, go with them, look after my son. And she has. And she's just such a cute part of the family. So I thought she was really, really, really sweet. She's like one of the best moms.
I also like that where she's asking Amitabh to come to the Rukhsar's wedding, and he just kind of dismisses it, and he says, oh no, we'll send Rahul. And her reaction to that was really amazing, like really touching. She just kind of changes the subjects and goes away, but how much it has hurt her. Dick is a dick, right?
I'd like to point out one thing though, that this is probably where the Balaji inspiration comes from for all the scene transitions. So there's like the thunderous claps and the extra zooming into Jaya Bachchan when she says "Bas keh diya" and all of that. So like that is probably amped up to 12 when it comes to Balaji teleserials. But this is where it comes from.
Not just that, it's like everything about this thing, from like the Diwali sequence to like
the Karwa Chauth and
the Karwa Chauth, like everything, like Karan Johar thought of it, and then Ekta Mata popularized it. So
I keep thinking you're saying ek tamatar, and I'm like, I was like, first time you said it, I thought it's something it cut off, and I was like, ek tamatar, like what's going on?
I keep on thinking, ek thi hasina or ek hasina thi, and Amrita is saying ek tha mata. There was one some other.
I used to call her. I started calling her Ekta Mata in like I think like back when I had my blog, and then I've never like gotten out of the habit. Like I don't think of her. I can't remember Ekta Kapoor, right? Like I can't think of her as Ekta Kapoor. Like I literally forget what her last name is.
No, but like there was a period when whenever she appeared on TV or for interviews and stuff, she used to have this giant ass tilak on her.
Yeah.
I remember
that was where I think it came from. Ekta Mata.
But also like everything was like super sanskari, like sanskari Ekta Mata who like makes Although like her sanskar are like weirdly fucked up. Like
it's like also Ragni MMS, and then there's this too. There's
like,
love, sex, and dhotka, but there's also this.
But she like even in her like super like conservative like patriarchal shows and everything, they're all like super rapey and like weird.
Yeah.
You know, like
And
like,
there's a lot of Devarji and Bhabiji marrying and
Yeah.
all of that.
What serials are these?
things I saw like a long time ago. Like I remember one that was based on like farmer suicides, in which like literally like I only saw like a few episodes, but I went back online to like check the forums, and literally the entire like I think it went on for like 2 years or something. But and it's a daily show, so there's like tons and tons of episodes. But literally the entire run of that show is basically this one Thakur trying to rape this one girl, and like her like trying not to get raped. That was the entire show. Like for like 2 years, it was just like him like trying to rape this girl for like 2 years.
Was that played by Jim Sarb?
It was, you know who was that? It was that guy from Ram Leela, the brother, Deepika's brother that gets murdered.
Oh, okay.
Oh, right.
I know. The guy who is the voice of Bahubali in the Hindi version.
I don't know that.
Yeah, I can't remember.
Why would he Bahubali in the Hindi version? Sorry.
But anyway, that guy. Anyway, trivia. Anyway.
Yeah, trivia. Speaking of that, apparently John Abraham was supposed to be Robbie's role, the guy that Pooh is kind of like halved it, but he said no to that. So that's kind of a funny thing.
Oh, but then in the Keh Do Na, Pooh's friend was kissing Robbie.
Yeah. She took the leftovers home.
Ramona girl. Yeah.
She put him in a doggy bag.
The guy I was talking about was Sharat Kelkar. He plays the...
Yes, that's his name.
Yeah.
Somebody on Curious Cat also asked, was Abhishek Bachchan the first choice for Hrithik Roshan's role? And no, it wasn't. But Abhishek Bachchan did have a cameo. Again, it was shot and it is in the deleted scenes. If you Google the making of Kabhi Khushi Kabhie Gham, you actually can see the scene, and it's pretty terrible. And it's not Abhishek's fault. It was a terrible sequence, and it's glad that they cut that off. Anything else that we have on the Curious Cat that we want to deal with?
Oh, what is Pooh in Maharashtrian? Like, what does Pooh mean?
Was it Pooh or Hey Pooh? I don't know what the guy was trying to say. Can you write us back at youpodcasting.com at gmail.com and explain what you were trying to say? Unless somebody knows. No?
Yeah, I didn't understand the question either.
So the question is, the only thing I heard from my friends that the way Hrithik or maybe somebody else called Kareena's name, Hey Pooh, and it has an altogether different meaning in one part of Maharashtra.
Yeah, we need more context, dude. We don't understand what you're saying.
Because we are not from that part of Maharashtra, so we don't know.
Another question was, why did Kajol have 4 glasses of pop when there were about 10 to 15 kids learning Do Re Mi? Because Kajol is Jesus. That's my reason.
She might have been just going back for the second batch.
Yeah. The racists don't get glass of milk. How did Hrithik manage to teach these kids the national anthem without anyone else seeing or knowing about the rehearsal?
They went to the British Museum to do that.
Yeah. Okay, I don't think we did this one. How do you think Kajo's directing style has changed over the years? It's not exactly what they asked, but I think that's a bit better way to maybe talk about this. Any thoughts on that?
Yeah, I think once he stopped having Shahrukh to use as a crutch, because he really did use Shahrukh as a crutch to like get away with a lot of things, as we were like talking earlier. He needed to like edit his I think his narration has changed. Like Ae Dil Hai Mushkil is very different. While the sensibility is the same, I think like the skills are very different.
I think he's a vastly underrated filmmaker, and I really, really like his movies. And I've always said this, and I always keep saying it. And even I think on the celebration of Kuch Kuch Hota Hai, Shahrukh said this to Karan, that he would like him to stop doing these dance shows, stop doing television host and a Bollywood celebrity, and just write more and make more movies. And the thing is with all of his movies, and again, we said this on the last one when we had him, they have a lot of ridiculousness and stuff like that, but those key scenes that work, they are timeless scenes. Like, we still talk about that blue water scene, we still talk about the helicopter scene, the finale, you know, there's so many things that still work. And I think what he hopefully does more is be more reductive in how he makes movies. That he can, you know, let go of, he has so many insecurities, right? And I think at that time, especially K3G, he was trying to establish his studio. Dharma movies were in a terrible state, you know. They had just, the first movie that was a hit after years or even after decades was Kuch Kuch Hota Hai. And I think with this one, they were trying to solidify that success and kind of come back up. And I think now that he's done that, he's established Dharma as like the leading brand in India and, you know, maybe even globally, I would say, of Indian delivering content. I hope he can just like let go a lot of those insecurities and make more, you know, kind of more concise films. I hope that's what he can do. And I'm already seeing it. I think people have a lot of issues with Ae Dil Hai Mushkil, but I really like that movie. But again, there are still issues. I really like Karan. He's a problematic favorite.
I think I like Karan as a producer. He really understands people. He's very good at getting stuff out of them. And he works better as a producer than a director because he's realized that what he likes to direct is not necessarily going to work. Because he does like these larger than life fun things, but not necessarily all the time. Like Bombay Talkies and Lust Stories, like who talks about them? Nobody does.
But I think his work was good in those, both of those. Like, which one did he do in the first, not Lust Story, the first one? What was the first one that they made?
Bombay Talkies.
Was that Bombay Talkies?
The story about Rani and the gay husband.
Yeah.
Yeah, I thought that was a really good, like probably one of the better segments in that thing. Wasn't it?
Yeah, but nobody talks about it.
No. Nobody talks about it, but I think, you know, like, I think it was good work. I think he did good work in that. I liked it. I don't know what he did in Last Stories and then finished it.
I agree with Ruchi in that, like, I think he's a hugely influential producer. As in, he's like really had an effect on Indian cinema. Not just Bollywood, but like Indian cinema, I think. But I think as a director, he's something of a cul-de-sac because, like, I don't think his influence as a director will outlast his influence as a producer. In terms of his work, I think we all like to criticize his work, but we all also like to watch his work. Like, there's always going to be a market for Karan Johar films. Like, we can all bitch about it, but there's always going to be a market for it. Like, we started this by like laughing about like Brahmastra and Kalank and Takht, but we are all going to watch all of them.
Yes.
Yeah.
You know?
I think K3G as a movie itself personifies what we think of Karan Johar's movies, in that, love it or hate it, it's very impossible to ignore it.
I think also what the issue is that he's not open with who he is or what he is, you know, like this, he still has like defense mechanisms, and unless he can let these issues go, he won't be able to become the filmmaker he wants to be, you know. And I mean, I'm going to maybe disagree about this idea about he's going to have more of an effect as a producer, because I do feel he's delivered some stone cold classics already, you know. Like, we will be talking about K3G and Kabhi Khushi Kabhie Gham in 100 years probably. You know, it's going to be on all the lists. So, and I don't know if Wake Up Sid will be, you know. So, but yeah, I think he's solidified Dharma's legacy for sure. That's 100% sure. What are the three things you remember this movie by? Did we do this one or not? We didn't, right?
No, we didn't.
Yeah.
I think we can wrap it up with this.
Yeah, that's a good idea. Who wants to go for Ruchi? Maybe what are the 3 things you remember this movie from?
Oh, I'll probably go for 3 dialogues that I absolutely love in this film, which are not even important in the film, but they are part of my life. So, the first one is, I don't like jokes. I don't like you. And literally, like, it just always brings a smile to my face. And it's kind of that relationship which those two have as well, which is so adorable that it kind of, it's a good relationship. It's something to work for, isn't it? That you can laugh about things. I love the fact that, I mean, I love Jia this time. I've seen how both my mom and my mother-in-law are because their kids are overseas, they don't see them anymore. So, that's a sort of affection that I see when I visit or when they come here is something that I identify with so much more, which, again, it kind of helps me grow as a person and the way I deal with them and I treat them and, how much I can give them in the little time that I have. So I think that, again, is really important for me. And again, the third thing is just the fact that, this is a classic. As much as I hate it, I will keep watching those scenes like Amrita. I keep going back for a few scenes. And yeah, I mean, family is a big, big part of all of our lives. Even though we live, by ourselves, we can't ignore the fact that all 5 fingers are not the same. We don't like everything they do, but you still got to grin and bear and deal with it.
Right. Amrita?
I think Suraj Hua Madham, then the 3 things, and Suraj Hua Madham, Pooh, and the scene in the mall.
Yeah, you got a few of mine. Sujoy?
I think the one thing that instantly comes to my memory when I think of K3G is just before Ye Ladki Hai Allah, when Kajol is doing Mere Haathon Mein No Churiyan Hai.
Yeah.
And he's like, Haldiram, kitte gai chandi? that bit is always really funny.
That was also a nice nod to Yash Chopra,
Yeah. The Daijan scene, मैं कर लूँगा Daijan, and then he just DJ that scene and the Baba. And I think like one of my favorite crying scenes in this movie is when Shahrukh is made to go away and he's got one teardrop in both of his eyelashes and it's like literally hanging there just to fall off, and Jaya is already in tears. So that's an iconic image of this movie.
Yeah. Okay, mine thing, first of all, the transparent nipple hoodie in Suraj Hua Madham. It's burnt into my head etched into my memory forever and ever and ever. The blue water scene, obviously, but we've talked about it. But what I also like, the little touch, like this gets to me because this idea.
By the way, wait, you should probably explain to people what blue water is because there's like people that don't live in the UK.
Right. The Blue Water is that mall where they meet, Shahrukh and Jaya meet for the first time. I just keep referencing it to it, but
it's in the middle of nowhere, Kent.
Yeah. It's actually 10 minutes away from me, so thanks for the middle of nowhere.
No, I'm just thinking, like, they have just literally landed in London.
Yeah.
So, I don't know what is the nearest airport to Blue Water, and how long does it take?
Luton? I don't know. I don't know geography that way. But there's no way that Raichan is shopping in Blue Water. It's not happening. It's no way. But
he would be like, Ron, meet me at Harrods.
He's like, I'll buy Blue Water and then we can meet there, But there's this scene, like, okay, we spoke about Jaya and all that, but this idea that when he meets Jaya, and he points to his family, and his kid, and he just says, like, they're mine, that really gets to me, because just the idea that, you've lost someone or you've not been able to see them, and you've had a family and a daughter, or sorry, now I'm getting personal again, but like you had a son and they've not met him, they've not seen him grown up, that really gets to me.
That's my favorite bit too, and also Jaya's reaction to that when she like delightedly laughs when she sees the baby, and I'm just like, that is really a reaction that a mother would have.
And they don't get to hug her even, they just have to run away. That got to me. And also the line that Amitabh delivers, what is an eye pack? Because this movie is 17 years old and I still do not know what an eye pack is and why they want to buy one for Hrithik. That's the third one. I actually Googled what eye packs were and I couldn't find anything.
I think it's meant to be an iPad. He's just being
No, iPad wasn't out in 2001 though.
Oh, that's actually a good
he
point.
says, do you think he has an eye cam? I mean an eye pack. Like, what is a fucking eye pack? I want to know.
Oh, that's true. An iPhone didn't come out until like much
2007,
later. Yeah.
Yeah,
Oh.
it's like stuck in my head, and I always think about it. Like, what is an iPad?
No, they are using like really thick Nokia phones in this.
Cool, guys. I think that's it for Kabhi Khushi Kabhie Gham, right? Anything else we want to add?
My favorite bit of trivia is that while Suraj Hua Madam was being shot, Karan Johar had diarrhea and was like pooping his butt out, like.
Oh my god!
And
Is this where he decided that Kareena Kapoor would be called Pooh?
And if you've been to some of the areas where they shot Suraj Hua Madam, there's really no bathroom around there. So
no, he was literally.
You
in
will
the
find
sand.
Karan Johar DNA there.
that's what he wanted. We excavate some pharaohs and his poo. We can mix these two
We
things.
can't end the show with this, guys.
This is exactly the kind of show it is.
True stories.
I think that's it for the show. I hope people enjoyed it. I did. Ruchi, where can people find you online?
I'm on Twitter at Ruchi18.
And thank you for joining us, Ruchi. It was
Thank
wonderful.
you so much for having me.
So
Thank you, Ruchi. I'm on Twitter at 93K.
Amrita?
On Twitter at Amrita IQ.
Great. And I'm at Asim Bernie. You can drop us an email at youpodcasting@gmail.com. You can drop us a review, or you can rate us on iTunes. We're not doing any vote because we don't exactly know where this episode is going on, but I'm sure you've had an episode before and you're going to get an episode after. So whatever's going on then, vote or, send us your thoughts or whatever. And we'll be back very soon. Thank you, guys.